Sure, I can go first. So, Reena Gupta, I'm a senior director now at Honeywell. I manage marketing and sales as well as e-commerce. So, I've been in the IT industry for about 20 years now. Initially, I grew up in India, and at the time I did my master's. In US, there were opportunities where Y2K, if you remember, the year 2000 problems were happening. So that opened up an opportunity for me as an IT professional to get a working visa. I got the working visa and I got here, started working as a programmer, and slowly focused on mentoring. So I got some good mentors that would help me to guide and navigate, and then work on the skills that what I wanted to do, where I want to get. And here I am. I started as a programmer, then a manager, site leader, now as a senior director, taking care of corporate within Honeywell. I'm based out of New Jersey, and our headquarters were in Morris Plains.
Awesome. It's great to meet you, Reena.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks.
Who's next?
I'll go next. My name is Bethany Beatty. I'm the Group Talent Acquisition Manager for Enterprise Holdings. So my territory is Utah, Southern Idaho, and Jackson, Wyoming. If you can't tell, I have a little bit of an accent, which everyone has made sure to point out. I've only lived in Salt Lake City now for 9 days. I'm actually from Nashville, Tennessee. I was just promoted here for this territory 9 days ago. So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, but I started with Enterprise as a management trainee about 9.5 years ago. I was a first generation college student. So it was a huge deal for me to graduate college and then kind of start in this big girl career. And pretty much from day one, I kind of fell in love with the company and what I did, and worked in our rental branches for about 3 years before given the opportunity to come into recruiting 6.5 years ago. So I was the recruiter for all of Nashville and Middle Tennessee for that time. And then, like I said, I was just promoted here 9 days ago. So still learning my way around, but I'm based out of our Midville office. And I look forward to talking to all of you today.
Thanks, Bethany. Welcome to Utah.
I can go next. My name's Melody Wheelwright, and I am a software engineer manager at L3 Harris Technologies. We recently merged about a year ago, so it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as it's getting better. I've lived in Utah my entire life. I've been with the company for 15 years. I didn't start doing that, but I've stayed with them because they've been able to give me the flexibility I needed to have a family and have a career. So that's how I've just been happy with them. I first started out when I was 18. I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? And society said, you probably should be a teacher or a nurse. So I said, okay, I guess I'll be a teacher. And so I went and got my math degree up at Utah State University. Don't hurt me on that one. The application at BYU was a little bit longer than the one page at Utah State. So I went to Utah State University and I got my math degree. I was a teacher for 2 years and I kicked butt. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna tell you all my successes. I got Teacher of the Year that year and I cried every day. I hated it. I did not like being a teacher. So my father-in-law said, hey, why don't you try a computer science class? You're good at math. You've got all your math done. And I said, okay. So I took a night class. Oh man, it was so easy. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, I was the only girl in the class, but it was really easy because it was just puzzles at that point. It was just like learning a language and syntax. And so I'm like, okay, I can do this. 3 classes later, I got an internship at L3 Harris, or excuse me, L3 Harris Technologies, and I am where I am today. A few years in, I did have a baby, and my manager thought, oh, she's probably going to be done now and stay at home. And I said, nope, I want to continue. I worked really hard for this. So if I could do some stuff from home, I'd love to stay. And they're like, well, we don't really do work from home. And I said, well, can I try? And they said, sure. And lo and behold, I was one of the 3 people that worked from home. I've been working from home for most of my career. And so, you know, as soon as COVID came this year, I was like, I can do this, no problem. And now I'm the manager over my team, and I have a team of 6 software engineers that I take care of, and we have 40 different programs that we take care of for defense and aerospace. So that's me.
Thanks, Melody. Now, is it Ariana? Is that how you say your name?
Ariana.
Ariana?
Yeah, really close.
Okay.
Yeah, so my name is Ariana Sellers. I work at Sandia National Labs in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And as far as how I got started, I'm still getting started. I graduated 2 years ago with my master's degree from BYU, and I guess 4 years ago with my bachelor's from BYU in mechanical engineering. So I got a job as a systems engineer doing nuclear weapons safety, which sounds really intense and is kind of intense, but it's also really fascinating and really fun. I had a baby 1 year ago today, actually, so it's my baby's birthday today. So I've been working part-time and a lot of telecommuting for ever since maternity leave ended.
All right. Thanks, Ariana. Well, we only have until 12:50, so I hope that the panelists are ready to just give us the good stuff right off the bat because we don't have a lot of time for a preamble. I hope you'll just be willing to share and give us your thoughts. So I think I'll start with the first question. Melody mentioned a little bit about this already, but have you had any experience with a personal life and work-life integration and how you've been able to manage that? Can you each give us some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll start. I think that every woman goes through this at different points of their career. For me, I'm not married and I don't have kids. So I've always put a real heavy emphasis on my family. So I'm very close to my siblings and my parents and my nephews. So for me, I don't like the term work-life balance. I like the term work-life blend because it's really about how you can kind of marry the two together. And what I always tell females is your priorities are going to change throughout your life. Sometimes you're heavily focused on school and then maybe your career and then family and being a mom, but there is an ability to do it all. I always tell them, find a mentor that you look up to that is doing that and reach out to them.
I love that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say, Bethany. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, Bethany, I totally agree with that. I would also like to add that I think you should just be willing to ask and just say, hey, my priorities have shifted a little bit. Can I do this or can I do it? I mean, people don't have to work core hours anymore. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you do, but a lot of times you don't. And just ask for it and just be willing to just be confident about it and say, this isn't working for me. Do you think I can? Whatever, and ask for it.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to it, I have global teams, so I have folks in India and Europe as well. So since COVID happened, so like you said before, every phase of your life, you have to juggle those things. What's priority for you? But also don't lose focus for yourself because everything is going to change around you, but it's important to keep a focus on what really you want to get out, whether it's your physical fitness, whether it's your work goal, whether it's your personal life. I think what helped me is make small goals, like 1 to 2 years, and then focus on them because the discipline is really important. Any company you work for that sucks everything out of you because that becomes your life. But having those goals and focus for yourself is also important because if you're not healthy, if you're not happy, if you're not having the fun that you want to have, no matter where you go, it's not going to work for you. So it's important, like you said, ask. So if I have a team who's working, I see people in India have totally changed their working hours. They work as US hours. So I make sure I tell them, all right, you take some time out because I've seen you 18 hours logged in, but also ask because Honeywell is a huge company. There's so much of work, so much of firefights. We can get everybody to give in 24 hours, but make that a priority for yourself. Nobody comes and tells you do this or that for your personal life or personal priorities. So have that focus, I guess, with the organizational goals. That would be my advice.
I guess just to add on to that, I would agree that you need to ask and see what they can do to accommodate you. I know when I found out I was pregnant, I kind of just assumed that it was going to be this really scary process and that they were going to look down on me like, oh, you're asking for time off so early, that's not going to look good. But I just went and I asked and I said, hey, I would love to keep working here, but I don't want to work full time when I have a newborn. Is that something you're okay with? And turns out that's something that a lot of moms at my company do. So they were very flexible with it. They did everything they could to keep me working there, and I really appreciated it. But if I hadn't asked, I would have just quit and had no idea.
One thing I tell my female team members who are going through that process. So one really young girl from India, she shared and she asked me. So I said, is your husband also talking about this to their manager? That they're going to have a baby, their life is also changing. So why is that so seen as a negative for yourself? Because your husband is also having a baby, his life is also changing. Why is that not a priority or a concern for him? So I think we should also think about that having a baby or a kid is a blessing. There are tons of people that can't have that. So think of that as an opportunity and think of that as a positive thing to say, all right, this is something that I want to have. How does work fits into my life? Not, I've sensed that it was a little bit negative the way the person approached me. So I actually counter-effected by saying, how's your husband taking that? Is he talking to his boss? What is his priority? How are they changing for him? So I think as a women leader, sometimes it also helps to voice those things to your female, younger colleagues. You know, they probably are scared, but you should not be scared of these things.
And how, sorry, this might be a little more personal, but how have you structured your day to fit it in? Do all of you work? Well, Ariana made it sound like maybe she works a different set of hours. How can you give us some concrete examples of how you've kind of modified things to fit?
Sure, I can. Oh, sorry, Ariana.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Thanks. So the way that I did it, my manager basically told me I could set whatever schedule I wanted and he would work with me and I could change it whatever week I wanted to. So what I normally do is I work Tuesday through Friday and I work in the mornings. But if there's a meeting and I can get someone or my husband can trade off with me hours to watch our baby, then I can go to whatever meetings I have to. But for me personally, I decided to work half time, so about 21 hours, and I do it in the mornings. It's just more consistent for me. My baby takes a nap in the morning and he sleeps a little bit longer than I do, so I get to see him for more time, and that's what I was trying to go for.
I was going to say that sometimes it doesn't appear that you have the right choice or right schedule that you want to do. So sometimes you just need to move groups for a little while. So I had an engineer, she was on one program and she was working Monday through Wednesday, and that's what she wanted to work. Well, she'd go into these team meetings on Mondays. She'd talk about what she's done and where she's headed. By Wednesday, they'd have kind of a follow-up meeting and she was making huge progress, right? And then they'd have their meeting again on Monday and they'd ask her, okay, where did you get from Wednesday to Monday? And she's like, well, I haven't made any progress because she doesn't work those days, right? And so she felt beat down, right? And she just felt like, well, you're supporting me and you're fine with my schedule of Monday through Wednesday. However, you're taking a different stance when you're asking me for progress on Monday when I haven't, and you're making me feel like I'm not accomplishing anything and making me feel bad that I'm not accomplishing anything on my off days. And so she decided, our company, so L3Harris, we have over 48,000 employees, over 400 different sites. So we are big enough that you can switch groups and it's not a big deal, right? So she came to me and she's like, Melody, what do you do here? And I said, you know what? Why don't you just come join my team for a few years until you get your son where you need to be and make it work for you? And she's like, that's a great idea. So now she's in my group and we do things a little bit differently, and she can work those Monday through Wednesday hours, and she feels very satisfied because she can accomplish a lot of little tasks. It's not like she's just on one program at that time. So just look at other opportunities that you may not have thought about initially.
Okay, I'm gonna jump on. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. The topic for this panel is empowering women. So I'm wondering if you could give a few thoughts on if you've had specific obstacles you've had to overcome as a woman, maybe some biases, assumptions, or other discriminations that you've had to deal with and how you have dealt with that?
Yeah, I guess I'll start on this one. So obviously I work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So we are a rental car company. And when you think of cars, you think of men. So being a female in a very male-dominated industry, I started right out of college. I was 22, 23 when I started. So, coming into that, it was very intimidating because at the branch that I worked at, I was the only female. And then when I got promoted to assistant manager and I would have these assistant manager meetings, I was one of two female assistant managers out of maybe 20 something people. Then I got promoted to branch manager and I was the only female. So I would have to go to these meetings, and being the only woman in the room was extremely intimidating the first couple of times. I remember calling my mom the very first time, I got this huge promotion to branch manager. I was running my own team. And I went to this meeting and I called my mom after, just in tears, just really frustrated because, I felt like I had some good ideas on stuff, but I didn't feel comfortable enough raising my hand and speaking up and kind of giving a force to some of these ideas that I had. And so she's a Southern mama. She tells you how it is. And she just said, you wouldn't have been promoted if they didn't think that you could do it. So a month later, the next meeting, I made sure that if there was an opportunity for me to speak up, I did. It was extremely nerve-wracking at first. My voice was shaky, my palms were sweating, but it was important for me to not just be seen as, oh, we have a female branch manager because we need a female branch manager. I wanted to be a contributing part of the team. And due to my performance, I was then able to interview against men, beat them out for promotions, because I stopped letting the idea of being the only female in the room intimidate me. And I decided to focus on, if I wasn't the best person for this position, I wouldn't be sitting at the table. And that's what's carried me throughout my career and giving me, 9.5 years with the company, 9 promotions. That's due to performance and just continuing to push the envelope and not being afraid of the men in the room.
Really good insight. Thank you.
I mean, in IT, if you ever go in an IT conference or anywhere in tech, there's always men. If you go above a certain level, the VPs, the SVPs, the CIOs, you would now it's changing. I've seen on trend, if you follow LinkedIn, and a lot of women are coming into those play, but it is primarily male dominated team in the tech industry. What I have seen is we as women should, there are a lot of women very higher up in Honeywell. One of our Honeywell Connected building president is a woman. So I've learned by looking at them that difference that you bring to the table, we should use to our advantage. I mean, not saying that it's not, you don't feel problems. There are always problems anywhere. First of all, like you said, rightfully, you all have ideas, just find a voice to voice them. You have a seat at the table. I think if you've read the book Lean In by the Facebook, what's her title now? I forget if she's changed now. She talks about lean in, because if you're at the table, you have a seat and you have to talk about it. So the way I do it is sometimes, men, they have loud voice, they have big personalities. I am only 5'1", tiny, petite. So you walk in a room, I used to work for a Dutch company. Everybody was like 6'2", 6'3", and tall. So first of all, you get overwhelmed. You walk in a room, there are like 20 guys and you're the only one sitting. But I think you have to walk in with the confidence that you are there to make them listen. I do a lot of work. I prepare a lot of facts about it, because the moment you try to speak facts, everybody listens. A lot of men try to, I'm not becoming different, but if we women focus and we work hard and we can multitask, we should take advantages of those qualities that comes with us and then try to work our way using those. I think we ourselves try to put us in a spot where we should not. That's how I've grown. Like 10 years ago, I would be saying the same thing. Oh my God. But now I think, oh, I know everything because I've done my homework. I've done my research. So if I don't know, I'll be fine. I'll find my answers, but I'll go with full confidence.
I'd like to agree with Rena. Again, confidence is huge. And I, for the longest time, probably first 10 years into my career, I didn't know how to address that. I didn't know that was what I was lacking. And I was lacking that confidence. So when I get nervous for something, because I'm in engineering, right? At L3 Harris in the Salt Lake division, we have over 3,500 employees, 1,200 of those engineers. There's 1,200 of them, and there's only 100 females. Okay, 100 in the all campus. There's 10 buildings, only 100. Okay, so when I go into these meetings and I'm just a little bit nervous, I go in with the mindset saying, you know what, it's okay if somebody takes me off my game. It's not a problem. It's not a, if somebody dislikes me, that's okay, because I know what I'm talking about. I'm here for a reason. And I'm managing my team, and I was promoted how I was because of my experience and my expertise. So I'm not going to let that have a problem. My other confidence, what's the word? When I have issues, I just showed you what my problem is. Sometimes I feel like I can't think of that dang word, and so I'm like stumbling, and I'm trying to say it. It's okay. Just keep going with it, right? And just let it roll off your tongue and just go with it.
Thanks, Melody.
One thing I would like to add, I mean, not to use mentor as men, because I've had really good, successful mentors who are men. Then I can talk, because sometimes it's in our own head. Some things people might not even be thinking, but because we tend to think differently. If you go in any good college, or if you feel that somebody motivates you, or you sort of feel that what their thought process is or the value system works with your value system, whatever you grew up with, try and reach out for advice. These people at the senior position, they can give you really invaluable advice and guidance. I've had mentors throughout my career in different ranks, and they always help me guide and navigate.
I agree with that. One of the two best mentors I've had in my career was actually a minority male, and some of the conversations that we had, they made me better, and they made me think about things from a different perspective. So I 100% agree with her on that.
So something I want to add to both of those, that you're probably thinking, well, how do I get those male mentors? How do I get those male allies? How do I do that? How you've got these clubs and these empowerment panels that you're attending. A lot of work places now have employee resource groups, ERGs they call them. You should join those. Get that sisterhood going, and then invite some of the male colleagues that you've met along the way. Invite them into these groups, because they don't feel like, they don't think, oh, I shouldn't be part of that women's ERG. That's only for women. No, it's for everybody, So then we can all have these conversations, and so they can understand that, wow, I didn't realize you had that issue, or you took it that way, and you can get those male allies. So.
Ariana, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think just agreeing with everybody. Sorry, that's why I hadn't said anything. I think what everyone said was great. I guess I would just continue on the don't let yourself have the bias that's stopping you from succeeding. I think what everyone said with confidence, like, yeah, there's a lot of bias. There was a ton of bias in engineering school and in getting a job and being one of the only females. But I think the biggest problem that I had with bias was myself. Like, I thought, oh, you can't do this. You're not smart enough. That's not something you can accomplish. And then I just thought, okay, I have to try it. We're going to go for it. And lo and behold, perfectly capable of having a job and going to grad school and doing these things. There's no reason that you can't do it because you're female, or because that's not the way you thought your life would go, or maybe it was the way you thought your life would go. So I think it's just, don't let yourself be the reason that's stopping you. There are plenty of external barriers for you to climb, and don't add another one to it.
That's a very, very important point. Thank you, Ariana. What do you think, have you encountered, well, maybe only yourselves, but what do you think is the impact of women in leadership positions in the industries that you are in?
So I guess there are actually a lot of female leaders at Sandia, which really surprised me. I went from BYU master's program where I think I knew 2 or 3 other female graduate students, being the only girl everywhere. And I went to Sandia and my manager is a man, but his manager is a female and her manager is a female. And there are several different female managers in our groups. And I think my group is actually 40% female maybe. And that's had a huge impact on me just feeling comfortable. I was so used to being the only one that I didn't realize kind of how stressed out it made me. And I walked into my new job with all these females around me and female leadership and just kind of relaxed. It was just relaxing. Like you no longer had to consciously be aware all the time that you were the only girl and that they were perceiving you as the only girl because you weren't. So I know that had a big impact on me seeing those people there.
And I have 2 different perspectives. So I have worked in different industries. When I worked in a food and flavor industry, we also had, so there were more women colleagues because research analysts were more female. So it was good to have creativity around you, but it's also, sometimes you tend to compare yourself against others. So that was the side I see. Women are by nature very competitive. They want to, be the best. So that was a different environment. Now within the manufacturing industry or a chemical industry, I've worked for Exxon and I've worked for Honeywell now where I'm working, there are more men. So I see the difference because if you want to learn some of the stuff, you can look up to men, but I've also learned that that you also have to change your style when you are working in a female-centric company versus a male-centric company. It's different. But the changes I've seen in Honeywell, now our chief digital officer is a female. There are a lot of women around there. They actually support you because they give you more opportunities. Sometimes it feel like because the boys, they bond with the boys, might be that then those names come natural to them when there are opportunities. So as I'm seeing more leaders or I am a leader, whenever there's an opportunity, let's say for this panelist or we have a women in tech network. So I say, all right, so-and-so, why don't you do this? Because you've done this work. So I think that networking is also important. So those are the different things I've seen as women leader. They tend to pull more women leader because they naturally know them by making an effort. When it's a male centric, that's where either you have to purposefully network with them so that 2 levels up person knows who Rena is versus, so those are the little differences I've seen. And you have to change your style and get your way around.
I also want to, I kind of want to add on to that as well. And the reason why we need more women leaders, especially even just in the industry of engineering, is the diversity of thought is huge. Women just bring a different perspective that maybe all the same gendered, the males of the same race, honestly, like here in Salt Lake City, there are a lot of white males. And I recruited all the different universities, and our headquarters are now in Florida, and they are telling us, they're like, hey, let's get 75% of our candidates to be people of color and different things. And you're just like, we live in Salt Lake City. Have you seen Salt Lake City? And Salt Lake City is wonderful, but we don't have a lot of diversity. So what I can do, I can change females, right? And I can empower females to go into industries like the tech industries and stuff. And you need to go there for other women, but also for my kids. My daughter specifically, I go into engineering and I try to take on these leadership skills for my company to succeed, but also for my daughter to succeed later in life, and for girls to see that, yeah, these women are doing it. They're doing a career, they're doing a family, they're doing a leadership role. That's awesome. So,
yeah, again, rental car company, you think of men, but we've been around for over 60 years. We've had 3 CEOs, and out of the 3 CEOs, 2 of them were female. And our most recent CEO, Chrissy Taylor, she actually just took over January 1st. So her first year CEO was a world pandemic. So probably not how she thought her first year would go, but what has absolutely blown me away with how she is a leader for our company is from the very beginning of the pandemic, every Friday she would do a video and she would send it out to the entire company about where we're at, what does our business look like, what are we doing to take care of our employees, what are we doing to take care of our customers. And there were some days where you could see the emotion. And I think that is different. I think she led us. Obviously, she's amazing at what she does. She wouldn't be the CEO of the largest rental car company if she wasn't, but she allowed her heart to show. And I think that that brought our company and our employees closer together, because someone that was so passionate about carrying us through this pandemic was the person speaking to us. For me, I love seeing a female CEO because women tend to feel like they need to compete with each other, but I love seeing it because it's like, hey, if she can do it, I can do it. And every woman that comes after her, it makes the corporate ladder a little bit easier. It's never going to be 100% easy for all of us, but it's chipping away at the stereotype. So it's been great having female CEOs.
It's a very unique situation for enterprise. Thank you for sharing that, Bethany. As you guys are talking, I'm thinking about, you've mentioned different things about the environment that you're in that really do create a space for you to be empowered. As students are looking for companies to join as they graduate from school, is there anything that they can look for as they're vetting which companies they would like to join?
I think that depends on the individual and what they're looking for out of life. For me, something that I was really passionate about after graduating college is community outreach, and what is the company that I want to work with doing to make the world a better place. And that's still something that I'm passionate about. So if you go to any company's website, social media is huge. See what they're doing, not just what they're saying, not about what their posts say, but what are they actually physically doing to help the world get better. At least that's what was important for me. Other people, it may be different things, but reaching out, if you're in the interview process, ask the recruiter, ask the hiring manager, hey, this is something that's important to me. Can we walk through how your company supports that, or what do they do to support employees in this same situation?
I think for me, I was looking for family and the balance and the blending of that. And so you need to ask for those, like, what are those benefits that you offer? Do you have paid parental leave? Is it for moms and dads? What's your vacation like? What's your sick leave policy like? At L3 Harris, my sick leave policy, I didn't realize, but it's pretty awesome. I can use sick leave if my kid is sick. So that's pretty big, so I can take care of my little boy when he's out of school. The other thing I would look for, don't take it as a negative sign if they don't have enough women there. You know what I mean? Like, if they don't have enough women in their leadership and stuff, don't shy away. Think of it as an opportunity. Think about it as, you know what, I could get in there and tell them, look, I want to be a leader. And maybe at first you're like, what? I don't want to be a leader. I just want a job. Okay, so get in there, give yourself some time, get comfortable, and then be like, okay, can I lead? It's amazing how a lot of women are natural leaders. It's just inside of us. So don't feel like you just have to be sitting in the back, not speaking up. Start getting comfortable in yourself and get out there and see how you can lead and grow. I also want you to look for those employee resource groups. Those were huge. That was my gateway in listening to other people from other industries and the community events like Bethany was talking about, and just getting more involved, getting to know, like, my VP, she's a female, her name's Aurora, and she's amazing. And I would have never gotten to know her had I not been part of an employee resource group. So those are the things I kind of look for.
My last suggestion would be, I think, agreeing to what everybody has said. I personally, I have a lot of early careers on my team that comes from different universities. So think about what you're majoring in. I always tell them to lay out the plan for 3 years. What do you want to do? And if that company, so all agreeing to, how they give back to communities and others, but then focus on what is your major that you've done. How is that going to relate to the realistic way of what company is doing? So for me, it was very important when I was doing marketing and sales. So if you go to honeywell.com today, all that website and other sites, my project did it last year. So we actually revamped all those websites. We are launching e-commerce. So N95 masks that you see, pretty soon we are trying to, because it's a B2B industry. So think about things that are realistically making a difference and getting to you, giving you that exposure, not like things that go in the background. So that was important to me. So rather than working in a chemical industry, I worked here because I see, okay, I can go to market fast. I touch the customer and get the feedback fast. And also, I think what we do here, I'm not trying to sell you, but look at companies where they invest in you. So if you're there for 1 year or 2 year, what is next for you? So we have a rotation program that we do. Every early career gets to work 12 months, and then they choose another group where they want to go to next 12 months and next 12 months. So I don't know if that's a common practice in other industry, but I found it very fascinating that you have different areas that you can learn and grow in.
I think I would agree with what everybody said, and especially with Melody with the employee resource groups. And just for me personally, it was the flexibility, the work-life balance. Are they going to let me go part-time? Are they going to let me work from home? Things like that. Are the managers very open about talking about that? Parental leave, etc. Like we can take, like she mentioned about taking sick leave to take your kid to the doctor. I got to take sick leave to go to all of my prenatal appointments, which is great because there are a lot of them, and that's a lot of time if you're trying to do them after work or before work or work extra hours afterwards. So just showing that they care about their employees as a human being and what you want in your life and working with that. That's what I really tried to look for when I was interviewing.
We've talked about this a little bit, especially when we mentioned mentors and getting male mentors or other types, but can you speak for a few minutes on how we can show support to men and vice versa, and how we can show support to other women and how that dynamic works?
Sure, I can talk about that. So the one thing I would say is you need to speak up. And I was in a meeting recently with all of my male managers. There were probably 4 others and then a male director. And we were talking about the Grace Hopper Conference. And if you don't know about that, that is like the elite of all elites, computer science, engineering, like tech conferences that everybody wants to go to. Now, this was a year ago, so it was an in-person conference that the company wanted to send some women to and send some recruiters to specifically. And I was in there and I kind of spoke up and I said, you know, I think this person would be really good. Her name was Ashley. And her male manager said, oh, we shouldn't even ask her because I know she's really busy with work. She tries to get home very quickly. And so I don't think she'd be up for like a 3-day trip to Texas, because that's where it was at the time. And I could have just said, okay. But instead I said, how about we just ask her and just see, you know, because this is a great opportunity. I wouldn't want to discount it for her. And everybody's like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. She came and she's like, this was the best. I can't believe it. I'm so glad I didn't miss out on this opportunity. And so you need to speak up. You need to empower those other women. I think the other thing I would say is you got to be careful on how you word things. And this is something that I've been constantly like trying to focus on as a leader. And as I'm talking, you need to be careful and shift your word choice. And be careful on the connotations. You want to have positive word choices rather than negative word choices, so you don't offend anybody unintentionally where those biases come in and whatnot, right? So for example, if I was going to ask what your strength was and you said, I'm very assertive. Well, I don't think you would want to use assertive because assertive, or excuse me, I'm sorry, aggressive. If you said, oh, I'm very aggressive, you could be coming off as like combative. Maybe use assertive instead of aggressive, or use a nicer term. Maybe use I'm meticulous or selective instead of picky. Like you have to be careful on the word choices you use because that can make or break a relationship that you have with a male colleague or a female colleague. But even on the female colleague, I think it tends to be more sensitive. So you got to be careful about your word choices when you're talking.
I personally see within the men working in different cultures. I think companies are investing a lot trying to explain, like if you are born and raised in the US, you're going to India or you're going to Asia, having that cultural awareness, how people react, because that's also important. There are certain ways, if you are part of a team, I have people reporting to me who have people reporting to them. If I hear something in a meeting, I coach my direct people, because sometimes it's important, they don't know what they don't know. So that's also one of the criteria. So it's important to coach the guys, at least at the leadership level, so that they understand, how to also communicate with the female or even younger, interns who are guys. Because we take them for granted that the guys interns are pretty confident, but they can also use the same help as young girls. So I think coaching my directs, and also once in a while, even to your bosses. So I have, managers, they just say directly how they want to say it, because if we don't want to discriminate, they also don't want to discriminate. They treat men and women as the same, but the styles might not work, because you will feel offended if they say directly like they would say to guy. So when you have your one-on-one, I think the feedback works very well. If you keep sitting on a same situation and not talking, sometimes it's not good. So find a way to communicate things that are not working to you in a nice way, even to your boss or to somebody who's not working for you. And I think for the females, I would encourage them to form their own support system. So there are a lot of clubs, any organization you go to, you have Toastmasters Club, you have some other activities that might happen, or find a support system, so that if you are facing some problems, you would know that how and who you want to go to. And ultimately, I think in any organization, if something crosses a line, HR is your best friend. They could be a worst friend, but they are also there to support you. So educate those, know where your support system exists, and try and go and get support from them. So that works for me very well right now.
Piggybacking off of what Rena said, I think that the whole idea, especially when you're dealing with men, and especially if maybe it's a male manager, I'm a big fan, and our company really pushes this, is it's coaching up. Because a lot of times you think of managers, they're training you, they're developing you, but managers also need that same training and development. And so if as a female, you're not getting something from your manager that you need, or you're not getting the training and development that you need, it's okay to go to them and say, hey, this is what I need more of. I say that, but you need to make sure that when you go to these conversations, you remove your emotion. Sometimes women, we can get emotional if we feel left out, or we feel like, you hurt my feelings. So I think it's always important to go into the conversation with a game plan. Like, hey, I'm going to leave my emotions at the door. This is what's happened. This is what I would like more help with, or this is how I would like to be taught to in the future. Don't just go as an opportunity to vent, because they're not going to really treat it seriously. You need to have a game plan, and you need to have an action plan going forward. And as for women, don't see your women coworkers, the females around you, as competition. See them as your teammates. They're helping you, you're helping them. When you look around, if you're in a group of 100 men and there's only 2 women in the room, why not help each other? Why not be each other's support system? There's a difference between having mentors and having career advocates. And so you two can be career advocates for each other. And I think that that's sometimes where we miss the mark. But that's what I always preach to all of our female employees and candidates.
Hey, can I just go back on Bethany too? Like, you were talking about how you vent sometimes. I was going to bring up, you got to find that person that you can vent to. Sometimes it's best to find that person, maybe even outside your company, but vent to them, let it come out, because sometimes that's what you need. You need to let it just come out, roll off your back, and then you can find that clarity and say, yeah, you're right. I really just needed this. and then go in with your game plan, get ready to talk to that person, because sometimes you're just almost going to burst inside, and you might let it go at the wrong time. So find that person that you can always talk to. For me, it's my husband, and he's great that way. And sometimes he's just like, really, that happened to you? And it's kind of crazy, but now he's like an ally for some of the females that work in his group. So now he's like, wow, I didn't realize that would happen, you know, but I see it from my wife's perspective. So anyway, it's a circle. It goes round and round. But find a venting partner.
I think it's easy too to have an issue or to have a frustration, and you go into a conversation with a manager and you say what it is. It's not so easy to have a game plan for how you would like it to change in the future. And managers, especially men, will be more respectful and more open to hearing if you say, hey, here's how we can improve in the future.
All right, thank you. Well, I have more questions I could ask, infinitely more. There was some really great questions submitted that we didn't get to, but we do have the chance to have breakout rooms now. So I am going to make sure that Savannah has time to get everybody in the breakout rooms that they need to get in, and the students can talk to each of the panelists for a little bit longer and get a little bit more personal insight from them as they talk to them.
Thank you.
You.
Hi, thank you so much, Stacey, and thank you all of the panelists. That was wonderful. I'm so grateful for you guys and all that you talked about today. Next, for everyone who would like to stay, we do have panelists and other representatives from companies who have offered to be a part of breakout sessions. This is just a chance for you to ask questions in a more intimate, smaller group setting. And so we are going to go ahead and start those now. Feel free to take a few minutes. The panelists, you guys can get a drink of water. You've talked a lot. You've done great already. So just feel free to take a few minutes if you need to. If you've indicated that you have a preference in the registration process, I tried to do my best to make sure you guys got that. Otherwise, it is just random. And so feel free to come back into the main room if you'd like and switch around. We've got quite a few in each breakout room, so we have the flexibility if you need to. So thank you everyone again, and we will move into those breakout rooms and then go from there. We won't go back into this main room unless you guys want to switch out, so feel free to continue your conversation and ask more questions. Thanks again. Bye-bye.